Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Vision Possible monthly live Q&A. We're back with you guys again. We come to you every month, first Monday of the month. And while we're waiting for everyone to join in, why don't we do introductions for any of the new people tuning in? So we'll just go around.
I forget who you people are anyway. I need to be reminded. So yeah,
I know, and you never know who's tuning in for the first time, you know?
That's true.
We'll start
Ryan,
with
why
you,
don't we start with you?
Mr. Speaker guy. What is your name?
No, starting with me. Okay. Well, my name is Nathaniel Spears, as you can tell from the video. I'm one of the Vision Possible coaches, and one of the things we say at Vision Possible is we love making your daydream, your day job, making your vision possible, because it is. And so I've owned several businesses over the years, bought and sold those, and am now working successfully in a large nonprofit organization. And so one of the things I love about Vision Possible and what we do is we really do have experience in the things that we are teaching and talking about. We're not just professional teachers. We've been there and we've done it. So Ryan, you're next there on the stream. Tell us a little bit about what you've done.
Good to see you, fellow visionaries out there. My name is Ryan Haley, and I have done a lot of things throughout my career, but just to briefly recap, spent about 10 years in the Navy. I was a helicopter pilot and did a number of other things after that, and kind of found myself an unlikely entrepreneur after that, and now am working full-time in the financial world and found that I really have a passion for that, but it intersects with my other huge passion, which is helping other people to find their vision and their purpose and mission and calling in life, and giving them a practical way to make that possible through coaching and financial, strategy and planning. And it's been a really, really fulfilling and rewarding experience that is actually like living proof of the fact that what Nathaniel said is so true. We are living the things that we talk about, and we enjoy it, and it's a blast. So it's great to be with you guys again this month.
Wow, that was really beautiful. It was a really beautiful answer,
Yes.
Ryan.
That was well said, sir.
I think we should stop right here. That was amazing.
I mean, it's hard to follow that, but Butch and Julian, maybe some people don't know what you've done and who you are. Give us a 30-second lowdown.
Well, for me, Butch and I've been married for 30 years. And
wow.
Yes. And Carly Hartman is our daughter. And
that's her right there.
We worked in entertainment our whole lives, and we actually met doing stand-up comedy. So anyway, but we have Butch created obviously many shows on Nickelodeon, which he will get to. And while I I stayed home with our girls, and so as soon as they were all raised and ready to go on their own, we started working together in entertainment and creating children's content. So we've been doing that for many years now, and we're about to launch a huge show. It is going to be the next Veggie Tales. It's going to be actually launched on PureFlix. We're doing a huge premiere party here in Los Angeles, and we're starting off with our Christmas episode on December 3rd. So it's going to be amazing. Butch and I, we work together, and we do a lot of things. We do everything together.
We never leave this room.
No, we're here all the time.
So ever.
That's who I am. Oh, and I worked on the game show Jeopardy for 15 years, and so that was my brush with fame. Not in front of the camera, but behind the camera.
You got to lead with that. You got to lead with the whole Jeopardy thing.
That's right. That's the hook that gets people in.
Well,
no, that's
what else did I fill in? You did good. You did good. I created the Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom on Nickelodeon and a couple other shows, and I love animation, primarily known for working in the kids' entertainment field. Over to you, Carly.
Hello, my name is Carly. I look like Butch, and
It's a rule in Vision Possible. You have to look like me.
Yes, I live in Nashville, so that's why I'm not there with them in California, but I have a marketing career that I'm pursuing out here. I've had my own business for 10 years now, as a digital marketing agency. So I'm one of the coaches here for marketing specifically.
Yeah. And together we are the Vision Possible team, and we're the coaches that make up Vision Possible. So I know normally we come to you guys an hour later. So hopefully you all got the memo that we were doing it this time on Monday. Right now I see we've got a lot of our regulars commenting. Good to see you, Alexandria and Tony and the Living Blue Jay. All you guys, glad to see you on. And for those of you maybe who are tuning in for the first time, the whole point of this live stream is for you to send in your questions around your vision, around your calling, around maybe you've got a business in your heart, a book you want to publish.
Maybe you don't even know what your calling is yet. Maybe you're going to be trying to figure that out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know what your vision is and you need to find it. That's what this call is about. That's what Vision Possible is all about. So send in your question. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can put that in the comment section down below. We will see those comments and address them right here on the stream. But before we start taking any questions, does anyone have any thing they just want to, share, something that's been on your heart that you want to share in this month of November? One more month till the end of the year.
Well, I was going to say, go ahead,
No.
Carly.
I was just going to say that it is literally 2 months left of the year, and we're almost halfway through this one. So it's a month and a half. And so how are you planning now for your next year? Because that'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing. See, that's why we're related, that we would think the same. But it's true, though.
They're also related because I always have to go last. But go ahead.
Right. Well, no, just yesterday, Butch and I, we have a church in Woodland, Woodland Park, in Woodland Hills, and we were just talking yesterday to our congregation that we do have 2 months left, and so some people would say like, well, it's too late to start something, but what can you do in these next 2 months to really prepare yourself for January? Because so much happens during the holidays that sometimes we just get distracted too much, and things, people start traveling and just so much going on with family and stuff that maybe you're going to lose half the month of December and a little bit of November, only because you're going to, be having gatherings and all that stuff. And so I don't want you to miss that. So if you start planning some things now, or at least start looking at some things or dreaming of some things, like literally lay on your couch or your bed or whatever, or sit in your chair, wherever it is, go to a walk on the beach or somewhere and start thinking, like asking God, like, what is it that you want me to do this year? Because he's got some huge plans. And so I always feel bad when I hear people year after year still not getting to what they were called to do. It does break my heart, because then you flounder a lot and you'll try a lot of things, and some things maybe just don't work out because it really wasn't that one thing. And so anyway, so I definitely would say I completely back up Carly in that. Take these 2 months and really start focusing in on what do you want to start in January, because then you can just start like quick and ready to go.
And that concludes our broadcast, everybody.
Woo-hoo.
Right there, the mic drop. No, I just want to second what Carly and Julianne are saying, because from personal experience, something that I used to do year in and year out, and I would never see success, is I would rush my goals each year. So what I mean by that is, like, I would wait until like the days after Christmas leading up to New Year's, like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the year. Let me write my list. And you know what? They were great goals, and I'd write my list and I'd think them through, but that's really rushing it. The Bible talks about meditation, and the definition of meditation means musing, muttering, going over something over and over and over. And you can't rush that sort of thing. So start now. Start thinking, what is it in 2023 that I want to knock off my plate, that I want to do, that I want to, build, etc. Or maybe it's some personal goals as well. Start meditating on that now, so you don't feel rushed at the end of the year and just set goals to set goals. You never want to do that. You want to have intentional, smart goals that are measurable, achievable. If you guys know the SMART method of goal setting, I love that. Specific, measurable, achievable. What's the R, Carly?
Realistic.
Realistic.
Railroad.
Realist. No, not railroad. Realistic.
What's the T? What's the
Time
T?
bound.
Trumpet.
Stop. What is it?
Time bound. So you have to have a timeline for it.
It is better. It's easier to
That's
remember.
not a railroad. That's time bound.
Can I just say this one thing? 2023, I just cannot, I'm not ready for this. It is like ridiculous.
I
That
know.
it's 2023. My gosh.
In
Well,
one
it's like literally 2 years post-COVID now. Like, imagine that.
know.
It's 2020 went by like that. It was like a blip, and then now we're 2 years down the road. So I was thinking about
Funny,
that.
I thought 2020 dragged on and would never end. That's how I felt. It just kept going.
Well, hey, I just want to throw up Alexandra's comment here. That's awesome for taking that next step of lowering the price of your comic book. I saw that on Facebook the other day. I know sometimes making a big change like that can seem scary, or hey, what is this going to do? How is it going to affect sales, etc. But let's see how it goes. Let's see what happens and the benefit of that. So great job stepping out.
You'll notice when you go to like big stores or big, let's say a fast food chain or some kind of a big market or something, you'll always see there's things on sale. They're giving things away, 2 for 1, all this stuff. I mean, people have been giving things away and lowering prices for decades and decades. And so don't ever be afraid of that. You give it a try,
Yeah.
then you bring it back to a regular price. But my question is she, I can't see the answer here. Did you sell any more by lowering the price? I hope you did. Have you given any away? Have you even tried doing that? Like for the first, I'll give away a book to the first 50 people that want one.
Oh, that's a lot though. That would be.
First 20.
How about the first 2? Yeah, because that's a lot of money. Because then she's going to have to, mail them, and then that just is a bigger
Do you
cost.
see why I don't say anything? Do you see why I don't say
Well, no,
anything?
I'm thinking
You
about the
understand
money,
why?
Alexandra. That's why.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the money.
Well, no, but giveaways are really effective. So you see how you can play it, and Carly can really speak to this. But you can give away a certain amount, but you want to make sure that you're selling. So for every person who buys a book, as an example, you'll give away X, Y, and Z, or you'll be able to win X, Y, and Z. So everyone who buys one and then puts, shares a post. Carly can speak more to this, but giveaways are super effective.
Exactly. Go ahead, Carly. What do you guys give away at your job?
Yeah, we do a lot of giveaways, and that really helps with getting people excited and spreading the word, because the best form of marketing is always going to be referral and word of mouth. So giveaways are really important, and it really drives traffic to your posts or your products because people want to enter it. And usually on giveaways too, you can have them share it with people in order to get more entries, which helps spread the news of your product.
It's all about brand awareness, right? It's all about getting your product out there, letting people know who you are, what the book's about, etc. So it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start with our first question. This was one that was left over from last time, but I really like it. And anyone can take this one who would like to. How do I deal with disappointment when my work isn't getting the attention I anticipate?
Ooh, I'll go.
All right.
Go.
So I think this is actually a good thing. I think that the root of this question can also kind of be with a little hint of failure, that you might think that you're disappointed because you feel like you're a failure because you didn't work on something the way you thought you had. So I have a conference that I do here in Nashville every 3 months, and we have goals that we set for the next 90 days, 3 things that you're going to do in the next 90 days. And that's helpful because we come back after 3 months and we look at what we said we were going to do last time. And we say, did you get all those things done? And if not, that's okay. Because as you start getting things crossed off your list, you might be redirected or move in a different direction or find something new you have to pursue, right? And so it can actually help you reassess your bandwidth or reassess your goal or your vision because you didn't get to it. So it's not that your work didn't get the attention you anticipated, it's that your priorities shifted. So let's reassess why your priorities shifted, and then we can restructure the mindset of thinking that you didn't get to something, but rather you got to something else that was more important. And then how can you chase down that more? And do you have to reassess your goals overall? So that way you're not just shooting at something at a target that you're trying to get to, but you just physically don't have the time month after month. So what is it that you can do that'll keep going towards what you are putting your attention towards? Because it's not that you don't have the time or the attention to give, it's that you're giving it somewhere else.
That's a great answer.
Super intelligent.
Yeah.
Who is this person? So intelligent.
Thanks, guys.
That's great. Yeah, I don't think much more needs to be said on that. I've got a question here from, yep, that was a mic drop. From Ma29732 on YouTube. I'm planning to take a course on screenwriting at UCLA Extension Campus. How would you begin trying to introduce your work into the film industry? How would you begin trying to introduce your work into the film industry? Who wants to take that one? Butch?
I'll take this one, obviously.
Go, Ryan. Take it, Ryan.
Expert Ryan for the save.
Well, taking a class. Screenwriting is a very, very tricky area of the entertainment industry. I say this in this way only because every screenplay looks exactly like another screenplay. If you lay them all on a table, they all look exactly the same. They're very hard to differentiate until you start reading them. So how do you get people to read them? That's the trick. Is how to get someone to read your screenplay, and then how do you write a good story? How do you even come up with a good story? I would definitely take the class because they're going to teach you all those things I just mentioned. And the other thing is how to sell your screenplay, how to get it in the hands of someone who could make a movie, and that's going to have to come through connections. You can get an agent, and if you need to know how to get an agent, I would look on YouTube for some tutorials, how to find an agent, how to take a class, a workshop class where agents go. Somehow you need to get into some kind of a networking situation. And the Writers Guild actually has these kind of events where they get writers together and they all talk about, of course, their writing stuff. But every writer in those rooms wants to sell their screenplay. And you don't really make that much money when you sell a screenplay unless they make the movie. You'll make a little bit on the front end. I mean, you'll make some money, but the way they pay you in screenplays, they'll give you a lump sum. They'll say, we're going to give you $100,000. Oh my gosh, $100,000. You don't get it all up front though.
And it's going to take 3 years to write the
Yeah,
whole
you
thing.
get 20,000 now, which is good to write this. They buy it from you. You get the 20,000, and then they're going to give you a ton of notes. You're going to go through and make all those notes.
And that could take
3-4 months, and then you get your next lump sum. So don't quit your job if you sell the screenplay. I'm just cautioning you about that. Unless you do, even if you win an Oscar doing screenplays, always have another one going. The best place to get a job as a writer is television, because you can get paid weekly to write weekly scripts as opposed to just one big movie. I would advise that.
That's interesting, Butch. I had not heard that before. That's kind of like your ongoing, income as opposed to the one-time, payout. Most people probably think, oh, I want to get a big movie, but that's from financial perspective. I'm all about that continual income stream. So
yeah, for sure. Now there are things like, for example, if you write a movie, like let's say you write Rocky, and Rocky is a giant hit, and they make Rocky 2, and then you get to write that one, and Rocky 3, and you get to write that one. If you make a deal like Sylvester Stallone, where you take less money in the first movie, but then it's a giant hit, then you get control over the rest of the movie. There's all kinds of deals like that can be made. And I'm going to please beg everybody out there who's a writer, please don't write Star Wars as your first screenplay. Don't write Star Wars. Don't write a 7 movie epic. Please don't do that. You want to write Napoleon Dynamite. You want to write a movie that can be made in 2 weeks for $1 million. That's what you want to make. You want to make a great story that really tugs on the heartstrings, and it's made for nothing, and it makes a big splash, and then you move on. Like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, a movie like that, cost nothing to make. But do you guys remember when that came out like 20 years ago?
Yeah.
You couldn't stop hearing about it. Like every 5 seconds, it was out everywhere because it was such a big hit. So things like that. Make a small movie that can be made very quickly.
I was just talking with someone literally yesterday about this, and I found out that James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, decided to pay $8,000, which bear in mind at that time, that was a good chunk of change, right? But $8,000 for the first couple Star Wars films versus, who's the guy who plays Han Solo?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford decided to take 0.05% or 0.5%, half of a percent of the film's grossing. And still to this day, he's racking in the money from the first couple Star Wars, right? So
there's all kinds of deals like that.
You play it different ways, but voice of Darth Vader versus Han Solo. And
there was a girl who wrote a screenplay. Gosh, it must have been 15, 16 years ago. I could be getting the dates wrong. It was a movie called Juno. And you might remember that movie, but the woman's name was Diablo Cody. That was her name. And she was this tatted up girl who was like an edgy girl screenwriter, and she wrote and sold this movie, and she was all the rage at that time. And I think she actually won an Oscar for that movie for Juno. But it's all about your personality. It's all about the connections you make. Quentin Tarantino is another example.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino was just a guy working at a Blockbuster. That was a video store, by the way, back in the day. But Quentin Tarantino was just this guy who had a cool movie idea, somehow got it to Harvey Weinstein. And that's the part that's tricky for everybody. It's the somehow. Some people meet people at a restaurant. Some people go to an acting class. Some people meet them at the grocery store. It's making those connections. So do not be a person that's an island unto yourself. You'll never go anywhere.
Yes, working alone has its benefits, but survival is not one of them. That's a quote from one of my mentors that I try to live by.
You should have claimed that for your own. I would have thought that was yours.
Never known.
Yeah, no, I won't claim that one. We do have more questions coming in. So Peyton, I see your question. I'm going to ask that one in a minute, but I want to pivot to this question. This one is left over from last time. Is the stock market a good investment? Is the stock market a good investment? That's the question.
Ooh.
Ryan, do you want to start us out?
Well, like most answers in personal finance, the answer is it depends. Right? How much are you paying and what are you getting at that point in time? I actually think the stock market is a much better investment now than it was in late December when we were at the highest valuations and therefore the most expensive and the highest risk that by many measures we've ever seen. Yet most people don't think about it that way. People are buying when stocks are hot, which really means overpriced and expensive and higher risk. And people start panic selling when it's actually a time to be buying. Now, you never know how far the bottom can go, but I can tell you that, for all else being equal, paying 25% less for something is better than paying 25% more. So I think the stock market is a great, very long-term investment. And if you look at it from that perspective, it doesn't matter what every day it's doing, what every month, even what it's happening in 5 or 10 years, right? If you have a 20 to 30 plus year time horizon, you're probably going to do very well in the stock market. If you don't have the risk tolerance, if you can't stay objective and you're going to freak out, or you need that money for something and you might have to lock in a guaranteed permanent loss, typically anything that you need in less than 5 years, I'd probably say 10 years just to be safe, then no, I don't think the stock market's a good investment in that case. You should be investing for the very long term. Some people are getting lucky and making a ton of money, like they did in cryptocurrency or even real estate now. All those things we're finding they're finally correcting. What I've been talking about for 5 or 6 years is now finally happening. And because I'm prepared for it, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Like I can't get enough. I'm glad that prices are depressed right now because I didn't own when they were high. I can come in and buy low. For most people, I feel like they probably are thinking something very different right now. So it really just depends on where you are, what your long-term goals are, what your risk tolerance is. But price is super, super important. If you overpay for an asset, no matter how good it is, it's not going to be as good. And even, not great asset, if you get a super good price on it, it could be really good. So just the answer is it depends.
I'm going to say also, I noticed Amazon stock is like $90 now. It like split, didn't it?
Which can be deceptive, right? Because, but it usually what that does is kind of strategic because now people who couldn't afford to buy it at $3,000 a share, like Berkshire Hathaway, that's like $350,000 for A shares. Now more people can buy it. It gets more liquidity, more trading. It pushes the price up. So you want to look at things on an apples to apples basis, right? So at the end of the day, what you're paying for when you buy a stock or any asset, ideally, is a long-term stream of cash flows. They may not be distributed to you like a monthly payout, but you want to look at like, what are you getting for a given price and a given stream of income? And, if they split their shares by 2, but then they split their earnings by 3, that's not a good deal. But if they do the other way, it's good. Now, it probably is equal, but it's an interesting thing. There's a lot of nuances and reasons why people do that, but it makes their shares more marketable, that's for sure. And Amazon's a great company, but you're not going to be getting a dividend. So, that doesn't put bread on the table if you're, dealing with 8.5% inflation right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good.
I bet there's a lot of people watching this who don't invest in anything. And I'd encourage them to start looking at ways
At least
to look into something
it.
other than your bank, because your bank, you don't make any money in your bank, and the money you do make, they take in fees, and your money is better served elsewhere if you get a smart person like Ryan to help you.
You know, I also want to add that if you are making investments in things that you don't know anything about, that's really dangerous, because we've done it, trust me. And we're like, wait, what did we invest in? You know, and I can't even tell you what it was. And it just didn't yield what we thought it was, because number one, we didn't know what it was. And number two, we didn't even know like the industry. It was just kind of a weird thing. But anyway, whether it's stocks or it's a private investment or whatever it might be, a movie, it could be anything. Know what you're investing in, because that really, that way you can be thinking about it, you can be praying about it, you can be you know, just like being positive about it, and just really like seeking some great things to happen as a result of it, as opposed to just investing in something I really didn't know what it was, so it just kind of sat over there for a couple of years, because that's no good. You want to be a good steward over your finances no matter where they are, whether they're invested somewhere or even in a bank.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think investing in yourself and your education first and foremost, which you don't necessarily have to pay for, is really important. Being surrounded by people who have experience and knowledge and wisdom in that area. And, I'll repeat this, what I said last time, but it's kind of funny, but it bears repeating, which is, in order to invest money, you first have to have money. So if you don't have a good income, if you don't have a stable job, if your expenses are more than what you're making every month, you shouldn't be investing in anything other than a budget and a plan to be able to have what we call positive cash flow. So if you can't manage the income or expenses that you currently have, you could be getting yourself in trouble by trying to do things out of order. It's not sexy, but I have to say, Dave Ramsey is, I think, the best in the world when it comes to getting the absolute foundational basics in place first. If you can learn how to, stay on a budget, spend less than you make, have enough and extra left over, then we can start talking about investing in more sophisticated things. But, the first thing is start making some money, have more money left over at the end of the month than you started with. And after you paid all your bills, then start making some investments. If you're not at that point, invest in personal discipline, I think, at that point.
That's so true. One of the things I like to say is as a key to success, like people say, how do you become successful? What is success, et cetera? It's surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you. So don't take it all on yourself. And this is, multiple people just touched on this, but you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, so you can take their advice, hear from them. So if you're looking for an investment, if you're looking for something, like Julianne said, don't invest in something you don't know, that you don't feel comfortable with. I don't know it. How am I going to, I don't know the world of investment. Then surround yourself with someone who does, right? Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with someone who's succeeded in that area, learn from them, and then grow, right? So that was all really good stuff. Carly, you have anything to add to that?
No, that's ditto to all of it.
Well, we got a question from Peyton. This is a great question. His question is, what inspired you to write your theme songs, Butch? And I'll add on to this. How can people find inspiration for things like writing theme songs and creativity?
Well, good question. And hi, Peyton. How you doing? Peyton sent me his book. I got your book. It was very cool. Thanks very much for sending that. Really good job on that. Well, what inspired me to write my theme songs was I had a TV show, and I was able to write a theme song for it. I remember as a kid, there were always so many shows that I loved, and I knew they were coming on. I'd hear them in the other room because of the theme song, the Flintstones, Happy Days, Welcome Back, Kotter. These are very old shows here, but those shows that I would watch, or Andy Griffith or anything like that, I'd be like, wow, these are just great. And they always stuck with me. I found myself humming them during the day. And I always said to myself, if I ever got my own show, I want a theme song that people will hum and remember even after the show is over. And so when my first show, Fairly Odd Parents, was going to be put on television, they asked me, who do you want to write the theme song? And I said, me. I'd never written a theme song before, but I knew I could do it. And I actually wrote a cool poem. And I got this great composer who knew how to play music like amazing. And we just made the great theme song, the Fairly Odd Parents theme song. And then I wrote Danny Phantom. and Tough Puppy and Bunsen, my other Bunsen is a Beast. And then we put songs in Fairly Odd Parents too. I got to put songs in the show because it was an awesome opportunity for me to do that. I always grew up loving music, and it was great to be able to do it. Cause also with writing a theme song is you get a check every couple months. You get a check from ASCAP or BMI because those songs build up a little thing called royalties. And if you're the writer of the song, you get money based on that song. So it's really in your best interest to write your theme song if you can.
Great answer. Awesome. So we got a question here
We need
from
a Vision Possible theme song.
There we go.
Oh, that's a great idea. We can play it at the start of every Vision Possible live stream.
And you're, Nathaniel, you're shirtless in the theme. We have to get you shooting your shirt.
Okay, we did
out
not
of the
say music
swamp.
video. We said theme song.
Well, we'll shoot the video. You come out of the swamp, 6-pack abs, the whole deal, and then we shoot right down the beach.
As long as you're fine with painting on a 6-pack. Okay, let's go. All right, so we got another question. This is from Travis. He's saying, hey, Butch, I was wondering what you think is a better way to do animation, whether it's traditional on paper or digital.
Well, at the end of the day, they all end up in the same place, and that's on your screen. So it just depends on what you like to do. Traditional takes a lot longer with paper and pencil and all that, just because it just does. It's just the way it used to be. I mean, it's an amazing art form still. I have paper animation drawings hanging around my room right here. It's an amazing way to animate. It's a lot of fun. Digital is a little bit different because it's a little faster, but not much faster. It is faster, but it's not like, oh my gosh, it's night and day. But it does make it faster. Yeah, I think it's whatever whatever the look of your show is, and whatever it is you like. And it also depends on your budget, how much you have to spend. Because traditional these days is probably a little more expensive. It just takes longer.
That's a great answer. Yeah, and it really does change the look and feel of your actual final product, right? So
well, if you look at like, if you can imagine in your head, like Little Mermaid, like the cartoon Little Mermaid, that was done traditionally on paper with animation cells and all that. And that was only in 1989, or I think it was 87 or 89. And then now you have things like all the Pixar movies like Cars, Toy Story, that kind of thing. That's all CGI. And then you have shows like what's a show that's all like Teen Titans is like a show done in Flash. Bunsen is a Beast. My show was done in Flash. There's all kinds of shows. I think Loud House is done in Flash as well. So you can see the differences. It just depends on your budget. And Flash, you do things in Flash a lot faster, but animation still takes the time. The new cartoon we're working on is all done in Flash, but it still takes the time it takes.
that's good. That is good. All right. So for those of you, we're about halfway through. So for those of you maybe are tuning in halfway through, what we're doing tonight is taking your live questions. We do this once a month, every month on the first Monday of the month. You can send in your questions to us on your vision. Maybe you don't know what your vision is, how to find your vision, or maybe it's a specific question pertaining to what you're called to do and what you want to do in life. And we're taking those questions live and answering them for you. So if you're on Facebook, leave your question in the comments. If you're on YouTube, leave your question in the comments. We will see those and answer them. This is a question that I think is really, really relevant to a lot of folks out there today. And I'm curious on everyone's answers. This is the question. How do I make more money working at home? Working at home. So how can I make money working from home? Julianne.
Well, I would like to make a comment about that first before we start telling you how you can, is you better be very disciplined. If you think you're going to make money at home and there's nobody there as your boss or someone in the office, and you are very easily distracted, that's going to be a problem for you. So there's lots of things you can do working at home. I'll let everybody else talk about that. But I'm just saying that I think that there's so much distraction with a lot of things. And if you are home and you don't have, somebody that you're being accountable to in your house, like you would be in an office, you'll tend to go on your phone. Maybe you'll start cooking something. Maybe you'll, start doing your laundry or something like that. So you have to be very, very disciplined in order to work from home, I believe.
That's right. Because if your commute is just from the bed right to the desk next to the bed, that's a dangerous place to be, unless you're a very, very disciplined human being. And Most people I've met that do that sort of thing are not. They would like to think they are, but most people need a boss. They need somewhere to be. They need a schedule. They need a routine.
Especially a young person that just literally graduated high school,
Mhm.
maybe isn't going to go to college, and
Yep.
there's certain jobs they can do at home. Well, they haven't established anything yet.
Right.
They were in a classroom. So it's like that. That's why it's just weird in the world right now that we live in, because there's so much working at home. So you really miss that interaction with people, and then you become kind of you feel odd at times because we're socially discomfortable because we're not discomfortable. Socially
Look up the word.
uncomfortable.
Look
That's a
up
good word right there. I like it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, uncomfortable, and then you've got then you're in a room full of people, and then it's just kind of weird. So anyway, it just makes you learn so much about yourself, and makes you step out, and makes you be bold, and makes you be a leader. There's so many things that can happen when you're working in office. So when you're not working in office, you're working at home. You've got to make sure that you can still get all those skills and be able to do the things that that you want to do without being discomfortable.
That's very good. I would also say when you're working at home, there's a key word here. The word is stakes. STAKES. What are the stakes? What stakes have you put out for yourself? Like, I mean, whenever you're working a job, at least I always thought when I worked a job, I had to be on time or else I get fired. I had to do my job or else I get fired. The stakes were I'd lose my job. I had to have good discipline, and that really taught me how to have good discipline. It taught me how to be somewhere every day. And go, you guys, you younger people, go ahead. How do you feel?
Now, you go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you're going to be able to make a lot of money working from home, you probably have spent a lot of time working outside your home to start with, because for all the reasons that you guys just mentioned, but also working from home. I mean, I guess that's becoming more prevalent with employers, in this post-COVID era. But if you want to be self-employed and turn your daydream into your day job, like what we talk about, it all comes down to relationships, because if you don't have people buying your products or services, and therefore people that or connect with in some kind of way, then you're never going to have a job to be making money from in the first place. So most people don't make meaningful relationships from their home, all the time. I'm not saying you can't, but I think that, like we all connected, we're doing this now pretty much exclusively online now, but it's only because all of us met in person outside our home, thousands of miles from home many times, that we are connecting now online, and that a lot of us are able to make a good living working from home. But I wouldn't say it probably starts there.
Right, exactly.
I will add to I think, intent behind the question too, of like actual ways to, I guess, have more streams of income from home. And then other than a remote job, there's a ton, and I think it's funny to recommend TikTok, but there's actually a ton of TikToks about how to make more money from home. And right now the biggest trending thing is digital products. So people are selling digital products like all over Etsy because it's a searchable engine. And
Sorry. Keep going.
it was me. And it's just a really great thing because people are searching on Etsy all the time for certain things. And the best part is you can make it on Canva, and then you can sell it on Etsy and look up the way to do SEO on there and make sure that all the keywords are on there correctly. But that could be another stream of income for you from working at home, and then also building your own audience to market that to as well, like via TikTok or whatever. We all have something that we can monetize and sell. It could be a journal. It could be 25 ways to make sourdough bread, like whatever you want. You can find ways to monetize it. And it's all just digital files that people can download immediately. And they can be priced, like $30, whatever. And then you can just make a lot of sales that way.
Are you talking about like a mini ebook, Carly, or like what do you mean by digital products, just for people who may not be familiar?
Yeah, I would again look it up on TikTok because there's a ton trending right now. But yeah, pretty much miniature ebooks, but ebook kind of sounds scary. So it's not an actual ebook, but it can be like a 15-page document that you make in Canva that's all pretty, or it can be like 5 pages, whatever it is that you'd want to sell. You can just look up what's trending on Etsy and even make something like that. So
I want to point something out about TikTok though. I want people to be very careful because I've seen a ton of creators on TikTok because I'm on TikTok and I'm in my late 50s, but I've seen a lot of people my age or even younger than me. They'll get like a few thousand followers and they'll say this. They'll say it on TikTok. I'm quitting my job and doing this full time. I'm going to do this full time.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, please don't quit your job and do this full time because the social media world is so hit and miss. Yeah, I mean, there are people that definitely make it for sure, but those people have worked their tails off. Even the people you don't like online have worked their butts off online to do something. But I'll see these people that are dads or moms, I'm quitting my job and doing this full time. So please support me. It's like, wow. And just be very careful. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I was just saying TikTok as a place to learn how to do this. Obviously,
Why not? It just reminded me of what I was thinking.
No, but definitely a great caveat because you cannot always make a living after being an overnight success because it might just even crash sometimes.
Well, they'll get one viral video, like they'll get 1 million views on one little video they make, and it's great. Good for you. Congratulations. We could do this full time every day. Every video will be 1 million seller. It's like it really won't be. I promise you. It's very hit and miss.
I think the root of any business, money-making venture of any kind, whether it be a business or a side hustle or a hobby or whatever you're trying to do to make money, it's all in your value proposition. So it's all in what you're offering, right? And so even in online business, even in like the example Carly gave, you still have to have something of sustenance, something substantive, I should say, to give, right? Something that you can actually provide, some knowledge you could sell, right? Is that a word? I'm making up words too, like Julianne.
You made it. No, I was just yelling discomfortable because it was you were struggling. I'm always going to throw discomfortable in there.
No, it's selling knowledge, right? At the end of the day, whatever you're doing online, you're selling something but you have to know it first. So sometimes the first step is not get online and sell something or work from home and sell something. It's work for a company, be mentored, learn, come up under something, get some expertise, right? And be mentored by someone, even if that means an internship, even if that means going to school, then you can develop those skills to be able to sell, right? To be able to go online and say, hey, here's what I have to give the world. Like Butch's point, it takes a lot of work to make it online. That market is so saturated now. 10 years ago, way easier to get on the scene. And this is a lot coming from me because that's how I built a lot of money early on, was like online stuff. I would recommend against a lot of that now because it's so saturated. You have to stand out. You have to have something special. You have to have something so good to market and to get out there for people to hear from you, right? So be mentored, learn from people, get that value proposition. What is it that makes you unique that other people are going to get attracted to actually want to buy your product or your service, right?
Yeah, really well said. I think a lot of these things are, people want shortcuts and instant success and fame and, overnight riches and things like that. But almost never do people who sustainably build influence, wealth, or, some kind of professional success. It does not come immediately and quickly and easily. I'm not saying that it can't be that way, but it's probably, I think somebody might've said this earlier, but it's a great saying that, after, years or sometimes even decades, you're an overnight success. Right. And there's so much lead up to that. And I think every single one of us could probably speak to that in some way or another. But, if you really want it to be lasting and significant, whether you're talking about, building financial wealth or building, influence and the ability to work from home or something as unique as what Nathaniel just said, it's probably going to be the result of like years of developing character and certain habit patterns. And that's not sexy. And people don't want to hear that. And, you get those people who every once in a while have a viral video and everybody knows who they are for about 15 minutes. But I mean, a fortune quickly won is a fortune quickly lost most times. And I'd say that applies to a lot of things in life.
Let me say one more thing too. There's a lot of people I know, they're probably very young, that are watching this. I say young, in their 20s or so. You're probably just getting into the workforce right now. Don't expect overnight hugeness because it simply doesn't happen that way. You're in a process. And I know a lot of it gets discouraging. A lot of it can be, oh my gosh, when's this going to happen? Why isn't this happening for me? I'm beating my head against the wall. Listen, all of us on this call, especially us older people, we beat our heads against the wall in many different against many different walls. But some walls cave in a little or easier, but you don't know it until you hit that wall. It's like you're going to have to run into a few things until you realize, okay, that's not for me. That's not for me. I'm a unique case in a way. Nothing ever came easy, but I did know what I wanted to do at a very young age. I knew I wanted to be an artist when I was in my teens. I was a teenager still in high school. So I knew I was kind of shooting for that goal since I was a teenager. A lot of people don't really find their goal out to their mid-20s, even their mid-30s sometimes. But don't let those years be wasted. You always want to be meeting people, having experiences, and even learning from those experiences. But again, don't get discouraged. Don't think there's something wrong with you. There's not anything wrong with you. It's only wrong if you do nothing. That's the only wrong thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I did see a question that just came in here that I think it's so timely because I was just talking about this with somebody else. You mind if I do that, Nathaniel?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't mean to be a usurper, but I
Is
just
it Saturn?
Usurp, another good word right there. Usurp is a good word.
It's a real word, by the way. Look that one
Yeah,
up.
it is a real word, actual word.
Okay, so this is from. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nathaniel.
Are you talking about Saturn's question? I can throw it on the screen.
Yeah.
So he's got kind of a multi-stage question here. So I'll read the whole thing, and then Ryan, I'll let you go. So question goes out to everyone. Never finished school, had issues finding work since 2020, and just got accepted into a university in Japan for international business, which would match my experience. Is it worth taking on a 23 to 30K student loan and moving away for 2.5 years to finish a degree before trying to re-enter the professional job market? He's at a point with so many rejected applications, despite a stellar resume, that I can only assume it's my lack of degree is what holding me back. Ryan, what are your
Great
thoughts?
question. You guys, we'll go around the circle on this one. It's a good question.
Yeah, it really is on a couple levels. So number one, anytime you're ever going to consider using debt, you should only do that if you are going to build wealth on a net basis. Now, of course, many times we have to take risk and we don't know whether or not that's going to be the case. But so the first thing is the cost of that debt, which is a certainty, are you going to make so much more at whether it's, a 4-year university, a specialized school, whatever it is, that is an investment. That's how you have to think about that. So in the long run, are you going to make sufficiently more money by having done what you did as a result of the education that required it? And that's a big question, right? Does it actually require that education? And if so, how much more can you reasonably expect to make? Now, back in the day, in our parents' days, my parents, the baby boomers, certainly before them, it wasn't even a thought. You were going to go to college, you were going to get your degree, because overwhelmingly people do much better who get their degrees. Now, I don't want to call out anybody on this call right now, but there are some extremely impressive people that I'm very close with that have done very, very, very well without any formal education. And I don't think that it's necessarily required. I'm a huge fan of formal education. I've done a lot of it myself. I enjoy it, but it is by no means, in my mind, a given anymore, because it's getting more expensive and the payoff is becoming less for most people. So if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, something like that, yes, school is non-negotiable. You're probably going to make a lot of money. You're going to rack up a lot of debt, but it's probably a good, chance that you're going to make more than you paid. A lot of people, they're racking up debt and they're still paying it off, and their jobs aren't that much better. So you really have to look at, is this education absolutely required to get me to that point? And if it's not, I certainly wouldn't take on a bunch of debt to do it. And if it is it worth the 2.5 years of your time, right? There's an opportunity cost there. So, Nathaniel and Carly are both great examples. They just started crushing it before they were even out of high school. They didn't need a 4-year college degree, an MBA or a PhD to do that. Again, I'm not against that, but I think it's a very different value proposition now than it was, 15, 20 plus years ago.
Good answer.
I agree with Ryan on almost every single point. I'm not disagreeing with him on anything. But I will say this. I hate taking out loans for any reason, of any reason. A $20,000 loan isn't that big of a loan, but you need to really, like Ryan said, you need to really weigh what the benefits are. If you're going to, and I see by your question here, you got accepted to university in Japan. Are you from Japan? Do you know the culture? Do you have to go to Japan to do this?
It's pretty expensive in Japan.
I'm assuming you have to go to a foreign country to learn all this. And that's why I'm surprised the loan is so small.
Yeah.
And and it says it's a business, international business.
Well, if it's specific to what you want to do, if you do want to do international business,
don't do anything out of desperation.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do it because you're desperate. That's the main thing. If you need to look at this, think about it, get some others. I mean, I would like to think we're some smart people. Three of you are very smart. I'm not saying which three, but we want to make sure that you don't go wasting any money for something that you aren't going to get a good payoff with. Like what's a potential salary you could make versus the loan?
Yeah. Plus the fact too, I mean, living in Japan, I think the cost of living there is pretty high.
Yeah,
and also,
that's a whole big deal, man.
You know, maybe you know people there. I don't know. Maybe you've got someone.
Maybe you're
to stay.
Japanese. I don't even know you're from
you might
there.
have a place to stay,
Yeah.
but you know, before you just leave this country and feel like this country gave up on you, you know, I'd keep researching and find something. And for me, you know, I didn't go to college myself, and I wanted.
Well, look how hot she is.
Well, I wanted to be an actress, right? And so to be an actress, I didn't need to go to college because either you can act or you can't, right? And so people don't care about your resume, your college degree in acting, because you might have this huge degree, but you're terrible. So they just want a good actress. So anyway, that's why I did not go. But I got a job on the most intellectual game show that's out there on the writing staff,
On Jeopardy.
the writing department. So, and I was 21 when I started. So it's like, you know what? Now I could say, you know, God was always watching over me, because I don't know how I got that job. There's no way I should have got the job.
But I will say this: she got the job because she went for it.
Yes.
She had some skills. She went for the job. She went after it. It wasn't like it just dropped in her lap.
Right. But
You know.
with being in the writing department on the most intellectual game show that's ever been on television, that's pretty far-fetched. And so, meaning for me, because I feel like my college was working on the show. I learned so much stuff I didn't even need to know, but I just knew. But anyway, college was not going to be an option for me. I didn't have the money. No one in my family had ever gone to college, so I didn't even know what that would even look like. So, but that is not trying to tell you not to go. But I think that you need to maybe take some time, not being desperate in your choice, but really sitting down and saying, okay, what I need to weigh this out big time and pray about it.
Yeah, if you're passionate about international business, that's really what you want to do. If you're meant to do that, then that's a whole different story. If it's just something you're trying out, like I went to college, didn't get a degree, but my college was an art school. I went to an art school. But had I not gone to that art school, I never would have ended up in California in the animation industry. That's what got me out here in the first place. So adventures are good for a reason, but I ended up going into. I was in debt back in the 80s. I was $30,000 in debt.
I married his debt.
Yeah, so I had to pay back. It took me 10 years to pay that debt off.
What's weird is that even though I didn't have a college degree, I had my own debt, but I never even thought of being with someone who had all that college debt. So
Amen.
yeah. So anybody else, please answer this.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with everything that everyone's saying, and I couldn't have said it better, but I want to come at it from a different angle, which is that of a hiring manager. And Saturn, what you're saying is that, hey, you want to re-enter the professional job market. You want to get back into working, I assume, in a corporate environment in the job market. And I'll tell you what, a degree and a good resume will get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you there, and it's not going to get you the job. It's going to get you a call. That's it. What gets you the job is your emotional intelligence. There's been so many studies across the board that EQ is the number one factor for getting people hired. And I'd agree with that. I have turned down hiring people with most stellar resumes possible because they didn't have the ability to come into the organization, into my business, with the culture that was needed, right? Culture trumps good resume all day long. And so I'm saying this to say, you could go get a degree. You could go increase your resume. You're saying it's already stellar. I'm going to trust you in that. If you've got a stellar resume plus a degree, all you're getting is a call. It's what happens after that call that matters. It's that ability to work with others. So maybe it's not the degree. Maybe it's not the resume. Maybe it's just something you've got to address within the way you communicate or the way that you do your interviews. Maybe work on some sort of interview tactics. I don't know. But there's so many other options to getting into the job market or sprucing up your resume than just adding a degree. And if that's all you're going for, then look at other options that are on the table. Now, like Butch said, if you're passionate about international business, if that's where you want to go, if that's really where you're looking to get in the door as some sort of entrepreneur type business, or wanting to work in an established corporation and work with, international companies, etc., then maybe that is the next step for you. But again, weigh the benefit to the cost. And I'd say the bigger cost here, and I know you did a follow-up comment saying that the reason it's cheaper is because your schooling is carried over. But I think the real cost here is not the money, it's your time. It's your opportunity cost of 2.5 years. And I assume, since you said re-enter the job market, you've already worked, in the past, you've had some jobs, maybe you've taken a season off and you're wanting to get back. Your time is super valuable. So I'd say, look at the way you're interviewing, look at the questions and how you're answering those questions.
They say here at this, they follow up. At this point, I've not gotten a call in months. They say.
Yeah. So then Saturn, maybe you do have to look at the way your resume is even laid out, right? I can't tell you how many times, I'll get literally dozens and dozens of resumes every week. And there's so many that I don't even look at because they're too long, right? They're too lengthy. A good resume should be 1 page. You should have a nice cover letter with it. I love cover letters. You should have a cover letter, customize it for that position, and have a good, solid 1-page resume. Maybe you're doing all this. Maybe the next step is going to school, or maybe the next step is something else. But I cannot overemphasize, as a hiring manager, how many resumes I don't even look at, because A, they're too long and I don't have time for it. B, they're not organized. There's misspellings on there. There's things like that I'm just like, well, if the resume is not good, I'm not going to even bring this person.
They
in
say
talk,
also
right?
it would be another 2.5 years of this school. And that's a long time. I don't know how much time you want to spend without being in the field. I think being in the
Right.
field is the best schooling that there is. I say get in the field,
Right.
start making mistakes and learning that way for much less money.
You have to be willing to work up the corporate ladder. And in any industry, especially in the professional corporate environment, you're not going to come in at the top. It's just not how it works. The reason people get promoted is because they're understanding of the organization and the nuance and the culture. And so sometimes just start at a base level, be willing to come in at a lower level than maybe your resume, right, would infer, but be willing to grow up the ladder. I had someone who came and worked for me who had a stacked resume in the nonprofit sector, worked for different ministries. He humbled himself. He came in as a project manager and he got promoted so quickly to lead project manager. But he was willing to come in, get almost half pay cut to what he used to make at a different ministry, came in and started working for me and got promoted out of my department very quickly into leadership, right? It's those sort of things. Carly, we're going to say something?
I would recommend going to kencoleman.com, because he is known as America's career coach, and he does an amazing job with a awesome resume, like template and training and like the whole cover letter, all of that. That's like a really quick condensed resume. That seems like it catches attention. And also he has some amazing like materials called the Proximity Principle book, which is like how to get yourself in the right circles to network the right job for you. And also he has a great like career assessment to really figure out what it is that you want to do in that career field. So I check out his website, kencoleman.com, because he has some really great job materials in terms of landing your dream job.
That's good.
That's good.
I like this Vision Possible today, guys. Good conversation.
This was great. Guys, we are at time.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in, joining. Saturn, I just want to leave you with this. Stay encouraged, brother, or sister, whoever you may be. Stay encouraged. And I really do believe, seek godly counsel, seek godly wisdom. You're going to get the right move that you need to make for your future. And it's going to work out. Weigh all your options, and then make the best decision. So
look at that. Tom Megami just rated. He took me more than 10 interviews and 30 plus apps to land a job after working hard to land one for 2 months. So, that's good. You're going to see sometimes looks like the living Blue Jay was in that situation too. So, don't give up and consider what might be working for you and what's not.
Yeah.
You guys, it took me 20 years to sell my first show. I was in the industry I was in the industry for 15 years before I sold my first show. So sometimes it just depends on what you're going for. And but if you don't quit, you only lose if you quit.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Well, that's a great note to end on, guys. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Join us again next month, first Monday of the month, for our live Q&A. We'll talk to you all then.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
gang.